First thing your senses register is light. Incredibly bright light, far too bright to see anything. You begin to start moving, and as your sense of touch comes online, you feel hard stone beneath you. Your hearing kicks in next, and you hear gulls and the sound of waves washing against a shore a little bit of distance away. Pushing yourself to a sitting position, you smell sea salt and iodine and plants. Um, and you know somehow in your head that you're near a seashore. And as your eyes finally adjust to the light, you look out over the top of a rocky cliff, hundreds of feet above a dark blue ocean. The sun is bright with a few clouds in the sky. Your senses now fully functioning, you look around and realize that the light that blinded you is not coming from the sun. As bright as it is today, its light is minuscule compared to that coming from behind you. As you squint and turn to see the source of the light, you see others are sitting up from similar stone slabs. You briefly glance at each other, but your eyes are drawn to a group standing at the mouth of a wide cave entrance. The ground in front of the cave is almost like an amphitheater, but there's no stage. You're drawn towards this group, and you instinctively know who they are. At the front of the group, Dagda, a huge bearded man, 20 feet tall, cloaked and robed in dark browns, leaning on a staff, and he's regarding you. Beside him is a 6 foot tall woman, pale of skin, dark hair, with a silver crown on her head, a stylized crow's head with garnets for eyes at its apex. She's cloaked and dressed in black, but you can see a sword hilt at her hip, and you know this to be Morrigan. Beside her, in contrast to the brightness of the whole area, is a normal-sized, just under 6 foot tall man of dark skin and hair. Light seems to dim around him as you observe him. His dark clothes, almost skull-like face, his tight, short curled hair. His eyes are pure black, and you know this to be Araun, and his eyes are literal portals to Anun, the other world of the dead. The source of all the light stands beside Araun. Belenos, the god of fire and light, shines so brightly that even as your eyes adjust to looking at him, you find it hard to make out details. From what you can see, he is a young man with a caring, kind face, and he's only wearing a rough kilt. His eyes burn with yellow-white light, and his long hair starts blonde, but appears to end in red fire at the tips. There's others grouped behind them, but as you observe Belenos and his attire, you look down at your own. You're equipped with clothing made from rough hides, stitched together with sinew. Beside each of you, sits a hide sack filled with equipment made from stone and wood. You realize that you have the knowledge to recreate these tools already in your head. And as you probe that knowledge, you realize that there is further information locked in there, waiting, not accessible yet. As you ponder this, Dagda steps forward and speaks to all of you with a huge smile on his face. Right! Well, now, you're all awake, just as planned. Welcome to the world, children. Welcome to Folis Cladak, the empty shore. This is our creation, our experiment, our new home, and you will be its eidolons, its legends, its demigods. You'll be the guardians of this world and its people. The look on his face tells you instinctively that there's about to be a really long speech. But you see the other gods behind him seem to shift and sigh a little, and their shoulders slump. All except Mathonwi, who hasn't bothered to take a humanoid form and appears to be just there as a floating ball of blue-green energy and fog. Dagda seems to sense the shift in the mood, looks over his shoulder at the rest of the group, looks somewhat embarrassed, turns back to you, says, "Oh, right. right. We voted to keep this quick. Sorry, I'm sure you're eager to ask questions and get going. You have a lot of knowledge in your heads already. To sum it up, then, we, our little family here, are the Prytani. We used to be the Prytian court, one of the many courts of the Feywild. But over aeons, we learned the secrets of the gods, and through war and sacrifice and learning, became gods ourselves. Now we've created a world for ourselves and for people to come to live. It's not quite done. We have no moon yet, for example, and some might say things are a bit too symmetrical. He stares at Goivnu briefly. Goivnu is a 6.5 foot tall man in leathers, stained by fire and spark and coal, with his beard trimmed short and his long, dark brown hair tied back. His eyes are green, and he seems to find humor in this argument that's probably been ongoing. However, even if it isn't quite as done as we might like, mortals have appeared here already, earlier than we were planning. But the planes being what they are, we shouldn't be surprised. So we created you. That was our intention all along, but now you get to learn alongside the mortals you'll be protecting. In fact, somehow, one group is in trouble already. Well, once you're ready, we'll send you there and you can get started. Dagda steps back, smiles broadly at all of you, as if that explains everything. A middle-aged man wearing very clean, fashionable clothing in dark greens and browns with a long burgundy vest steps forwards towards you, smiling widely. His hair is trimmed short and stylish, with white at the temples, salt and pepper in his beard. His beard's trimmed clean and short. You see a lute strapped to his back. And you know this is Ogma. The corner of his eyes crinkle pleasantly as he addresses you. He says, "You've been given the best technology of this age to match the mortals who've snuck through into our world. Don't worry, your entire existence won't be constrained to wearing hides and scratching at flea bites. As the mortals of this world progress, so will you. As a warning, if things, say, get out of hand for various reasons, you may find it necessary to drive that change yourselves and use the powers and knowledge that we have imbued in you. Now, no more speeches, but we will be happy to answer any of your questions before we send you off into the world. We didn't think to give you knowledge of each other when we created you, so perhaps you should get to know each other." And he kind of steps back just to wait for questions from all of you. They seem to be a pretty hands-off bunch who is looking for all of you to kind of take your own direction. They seem to care for all of you, but don't seem to want to micromanage you at all. So you're free to speak to each other, introduce each other, and speak to them and ask questions. Just as a way to get started, Garhi, could you describe Archu and let everyone know what they're seeing when they look at him?
Yeah, so Arku is, if you want to visualize, he's a Shatterkai, so he's an elf with pointed ears, slightly paler skin, long black hair. He's 5'10", lean, very handsome by those standards. And what I will actually do is just get up off my slab, grab my bag, and kind of test the spear, and then make a beeline for the group of gods and kneel if that's the appropriate thing in front of Morrigan, and just say which way, and not even bothering to try to talk to any of the others.
Um, the other gods look a bit amused. Morgan looks at you with satisfaction in her face. Like, yeah, this is appropriate. And doesn't say anything verbally, but you hear in your head, "Be patient. We have to work as a group, and not everyone may be as driven as you. If there's any curiosity you have, Now is a good time to have it satisfied. That is also part of my design.
So that I will then, nod to myself as much as anything and stand back up and uh, move back to the group and just kind of loiter patiently on the side.
Awesome. Uh, Alan, could you describe Ebby and same sort of thing, please?
Yep. I'm not sure that Ebby fits in with the heroic vibe. He probably looks like a 70-year-old man with a fairly trim beard but old hair. Clearly human. But it probably takes everybody a little bit by surprise when he hops up very spryly, picks his bag up on his shoulder as well, and bows to everybody else and introduces himself. I'm Ebby, and I suppose we're going to have to get to know each other if we're going to keep these mortals safe.
Awesome. Okay. So, two have stood up and are ready to go. Softy, would you like to introduce Keenan?
Uh, King Dawn, he described him as human, but very pale, with a nice beard going down like hazelnut, and red eyes. He looks to all you with neutral, and he nods his head to Eddie, and well, he doesn't say anything. He just watching over, just watching the others, see what's going on. He doesn't know what to say because, I mean, he's a I guess a newborn. I get like everyone else here,
Yep.
kind of like awkwardly.
Yeah. Awesome. So, three have stood up. Nelik, could you describe Zephia, please?
Yep, you see Zafia hops up off the slab and stands up. She has the satyr in looks. The hair is completely white and the eyes are white to match, with golden horns coming out the front. And from the tips of the fingers fading back into regular skin color closer to the elbows, it goes from black to skin. And she'll pick out Sir Newness in the crowd and bow.
So you see him, he's hanging back, looks a little uncomfortable with the gathering, kind of hanging off to the side. He looks to be about 15 feet tall, mostly like satyrish in appearance, like fur from the waist down. Above the waist, the fur turns into greenery, like he's covered in shrubs and green all the way to his face, and then has horns that are probably another 6 or 7 feet, antlers coming off the top of his head, and nods back, just a very dignified, like acknowledgement. All right, and Vortex, you're up next.
Zarok, a Aarakocra, a golden head spreading out to darker color feathers, akin to what we would see as a golden eagle, with golden eyes, but with like a very intelligent spark of like just imagination and curiosity and uh just pure joy, honestly. And he's going to. You said I have a sack of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get off the table and then dump the sack onto the contents onto the slab.
Mm-hmm.
What do I see there?
So it's pretty basic survival gear for the Neolithic. Flint stone, flint axe, flint tipped spear, Like very, very basic. You also do have a very crude bow and a crudely made quiver and a few arrows. Um, it is that bow might represent the height of technology on this planet right now, and
Awesome.
it's not great.
I'm gonna pick up like the flint arrow and just be like like doing messing with it, smashing whatever, and then look at Govnu. Did I say that right?
Goivnu, yeah.
Govnu?
Yep.
Govnu with like pure joy. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah, you get a smile in response. Like everyone sees pride in his face. Like, yeah, um, and you do, I think, looking at that, you see similar stone around that could be flaked the same way to recreate these tools if need be, or create more of them. Awesome. And Robbie.
So you see a character by the name of Lucius. He is a human with a like tan skin coloration, very light colored hair, just past the shoulders. Despite our garb, they try and present themselves to look well in it. And they kind of just look over to Dianect. Is that how you pronounce it? Dianect. Who happens to kind of be, I guess, like their patron god.
So, Diane Kecht is rather distracted looking and doesn't immediately look back at you. They are talking to Belanos, and is slight, dark-skinned with reddish-brown hair and brown eyes. And they're dressed in robes with many pockets and have thick leather gloves on that look like they've been stained by alchemical substances, is what comes to your mind immediately. So...
Well, my given name, Lucius Stone. I see you guys are quite the talkative bunch. Kind of hard to do if we're guardians of a new world, if no one communicates with each other. May I ask some names from the rest of you?
I'm sorry. I was so enraptured by all these things. I have no knowledge about them, but somehow I have all the knowledge about them. My name is Zarok. You can call me Rock.
Rock. Very well. And you, as they gesture to Artu, who seem to be almost the quietest yet most, I guess, focused on what is being told to us by these deity.
I am Arku.
Pleasure. And just kind of going around, pointing to everybody to just kind of get a sense of names.
Yes, my name is Zafia.
Keaton. Keen Dawn.
And you, I believe you mentioned your name already, correct?
I did, but it's Ebby. I'll walk over and actually reach out to like shake your hand. Not sure why, but I'm doing it anyways.
Lucia seems a little bit confused by this, you reaching out to them. Pleasure's mine. I assume you're all chosen by the gods? I like to think of us favored by that means.
Yeah, in your heads, you all feel knowledge shifting around, like what felt natural for Ebby to hold their hand out and in a way of introduction and just shake hands doesn't click. There's different knowledge in all of you that's clicking into place at different rates. You do all know that you were created and chosen by the gods to protect this planet. What that exactly means is a little vague in your heads. There's not an exact purpose or any details that have been imparted to you at this point. Now, do you have Any questions? You see Belanos and the Enkect kind of standing in front of the group, waiting for you all to finish chatting amongst yourselves.
Can
I'll
I
turn and,
go for it? Sorry.
I'll turn and ask the deities if we're sort of done with the pleasantries. I'll turn and ask. So how is it that we are intended to protect the entirety of mortals with just the 6 of us?
So Belanos answers, well, there may be more. It will depend on the needs. There aren't many mortals on the planet yet, and you are all extraordinary in your own ways. You will grow to great power, I think, and may even one day some of you may decide to join us. I think that spark is within you, if it were nurtured. Right now, though, there's only a few hundred mortals on the planet, maybe to protect. So, and we didn't really introduce many ways for them to be harmed. There's animals, of course, but they should be more than a match for those. We do have a little test for all of you if you'd like to get started and maybe get to know each other through doing and through solving problems together. There's a small camp of mortals far to the north that apparently they've been dying off at a quicker rate over the past few months. We understand mortals die of age and injury and disease. You won't die of those things unless you choose, I suppose. But from the prayers we've been receiving, they've spoken of beasts that hunt them. We haven't put animals on this planet that should do that. We don't see anything there. There's a full ecosystem in place, but nothing that should hunt groups of mortals, of humanoids. So, if you'd like, we could send you to them. You could get to know them, live amongst them, learn from them. They could learn from you, and you could protect them and figure out what's going on. Does that sound amenable?
That sounds
Yep.
reasonable.
How many
How-
groups of mortals
happy to
are there?
assist.
Go ahead.
There's looks over at the Incact and responds. Right. Let's say maybe 15 groups, 5, 10. I think the largest might be 30. We don't keep close track. The numbers change pretty quick when you're used to calculating things in eons.
How long have they been here?
They look at each other. There's kind of a helpless look in their face. You get the impression they don't have a solid way of measuring time. And Belanos looks back, says, I think maybe 50 rotations around the sun. I think the first of them got here. Not really sure. They would probably have a better idea. I mean, some of them don't live that long, I understand, but still, they seem to pass knowledge from one to another, so...
I see.
I will just look around and orient myself to figure out where north is, because I'm guessing that's something we know how to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then make sure I'm not leaving the group, but maneuver so that I'm at the foremost in that direction and just start studying the way forward.
Right. So one thing you find on this area you're in, now that you've spoken and now you're looking around, have been told a direction, while you're here, yeah, you're 100% sure where north is. You're 100% sure where everything every direction is. You are on an island. It appears to have sheer cliffs that are about 200 feet up from the ocean. There doesn't appear to be any way off other than flying or hoping you survive a fall and swimming away. So you're full on in the middle of the ocean.
Sensing that we're about to get going, I'm gonna start gathering up my things, organizing them in a very particular fashion in my bag, however I can, and then taking my bow and slinging it over my shoulder. And then I'm gonna ask Govnu, what is the best material in this world?
Looks back at you and says, it would depend what you're making. This world is full of materials. The mortals aren't using them yet, and we're asking you not to get too far ahead of them. But there's mithril, there's adamantine deep in the mountains, if someone were to pull it out. But there's also iron and could be made to steel. Before that, a little easier, there's copper and tin that you could make bronze out of, but the mortals here are not there yet, and we'd prefer that you are accepted among them, not so other. That's one of the reasons we chose the appearances for you that we did. So you will be able to live amongst them, and they will see you as like them. If you're too far ahead with the technology, then it would be difficult for them to view you as peers.
I understand. I'll slow the pace.
Lucius looks over at that moment and glances at Dankek and is like, well, the problem is, and he kind of just does a little light cantrip. What about this? How am I to be accepted?
Well, some of the mortals have magic. Maybe not to the level some of you do, but they can call on us. And they should accept that as messengers of the gods, that you have certain abilities that they don't. In time, well, they're free to develop their own magics as well. Keep an eye, and looks at you right in the eyes and says, keep an eye out for the flora of this world. You'll find it useful. We've seeded many interesting plants. Seems to be like he feels like he's giving you a big hint there. But this is a person who's obviously has the garb of an alchemist, so has his own priorities.
I think in that moment, a little bit of memory kind of floods Lucius. A little bit of blood drips from their nose as they kind of can see application of like plants to wounds and stuff like that, being kind of a healer themselves, and kind of snap back into it and wipe away a little bit of blood that has come down.
Yeah, you just get, in response to that, once you snap back and your eyes focus again, there's a nod. Like, yeah, exactly, like that. So yeah, they seem to be standing there waiting for you to fly away to your destination.
Having noticed that we're on an island, I am actually going to take a closer look at the immediate surroundings, the cave and the stone slabs and stuff, and see have I been given any special knowledge as to the significance of this particular place.
Make a history check with advantage, because it is kind of programmed in there. It's going to just kind of determine how much you remember.
first roll of the campaign, guys.
Awesome. You get the feeling, obviously, these are gods at this point. They don't need a place to live, but this is where they meet to discuss. And this is where at least a lot of the creation here started. Other than that, you don't get a huge amount of relevance to it, other than you're right in the middle of this planet, and everywhere else on it is pretty much equidistant. So, yeah, was a convenient place for them to work from. But there is no way off unless you can fly, swim, like survive the dive and swim, or plane shift, go somewhere else like a god could.
Keenan's gonna look to the gods, and especially his creator, and say, are we supposed to... How do we get there? To the mortals in danger?
Several of them look confused about this question. Belenos laughs and says, "Oh, I apologize. We forget. You were created more like mortals than us. Right." Snaps his fingers. Looks at a couple of the others. They also snap their fingers, and 3 horse-drawn 2-person chariots appear. Says, the camp you're going to, you just get on the chariots. They will take you. Speak to Irkian. Irkian is the leader of this tribe. He'll give you the details, and you could help them from there.
I see.
And he reaches out to Keenan, since it was Keenan who spoke, and just puts his hand over yours. And when he takes his hand away, there is a palm-sized, rounded gray stone, flecked with green from copper, and has a rune engraved in it with purple paint in the rune. And he says, this will let you contact us once a day. If you need something, information, a ride back, whatever.
I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. And he'll clench his fist on the gravestone, you say?
Yeah, it's gray, like the size of your palm size stone, with one single rune in it.
You're pointing his bag. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The rune is a single vertical line, and it's crossed with a diagonal line. That's all it is.
He nods to... Who gave him the stone?
Belenos.
Belenos. And then he looks to his creator. What's his name?
Araun, I believe.
Araun?
Yeah.
He looks at Araun and just looks deep into his eyes, and he bows deeply to him, and he heads to the carriage.
Awesome. So yeah, there's 2-person chariots drawn by really nice horses that are, very large for the era. And they are facing north and look ready to go. They look energetic and ready to pull these chariots.
I take the driver's seat, just getting ready for the others,
Yeah, looking at the chariots, they look like they're designed for one person to drive and one person to be on the back. There's spaces for like a really solid footing for the person on the back to wield a spear from back there, or wield a sword from back there. Whereas the driver is almost like crouching, almost kneeling at the front.
I will start heading that way and stop by the Morgan and say to her, I will see these people made safe, and then get on the back of Keenan's chariot and with my spear at the ready.
Awesome. Again, very nothing outward, but in your head you just hear, good.
I'll move up to the driver's spot of one of the carriages.
Lucius will be, very well. The longer we wait here, the more people die, so I can't let that happen. and hops into the passenger seat of one of them.
Nice.
I'm gonna rush over to the chariot and just examine. I'm assuming they have wheels. Are
They
wheels
do,
been
yeah.
created in this world yet?
For the gods, yes. You're guessing. For the average mortal, no, there aren't wheels. But
Ooh.
yeah,
Okay, so this is gonna kind of enrapture Rock's mind, and
Yeah.
he's just gonna jump on the riding side of the chariot and just be looking at every nook and cranny, finding of the designs and what its
Yeah,
purpose is and all that
the
stuff.
design is like a lot of it almost looks like if you were to scale up wicker. It's very like single, like braided together, single pieces of wood. Even the shocks are kind of built that way. In that way, it kind of has shocks because it's wood that has some bounce to it. It's not like a solid contraption of metal or anything. It's completely wooden and almost woven together. It's quite beautiful. It almost looks like knotwork, but it is also quite solid and sturdy and quite functional.
Well, I'll hop into the driver's seat of Rock's chariot. It appears we're all ready to go.
Awesome. When Ebby jumps in and Zarek slows down enough to be stable in the back of it, all three the horses on some unknown signal start forward and run straight off the cliff. You drop about 50 feet before whatever magic is in these kicks in, and then you're tearing across the sky with fire, basically trails of fire coming from every hoof step and from every wheel on these chariots. Just tracing a fiery path through the sky. It takes you all a second to realize just how fast you're moving. When you look back at the island, it just appears to be a tall cylinder in the ocean, already almost disappearing from view. And you travel north, and it's pure ocean for a good while. And then you start to see a few islands, no major continents. You're traveling incredibly quickly to the point where you pass through weather systems. All of a sudden, the sky goes from clear to cloudy, you're getting rained on, and then you're out the other side, and it's, light cloud again. Just traveling north, a little bit to the west. Eventually, you see a much larger landmass ahead of you, and it's a beach stretching for miles and miles and miles, and then opens into plains. And after about 600 miles of plains, dense, dense forest. And in the distance, both to the east and to the north, there are mountains. Great, great mountains. You don't see any volcanoes. They don't appear to be super active or anything, but great mountains. Um, very craggy, very tall. And from those mountains run rivers down onto the plains and down into the forest. And your chariots take you, slowing down now, over the plains, over the forest, towards a large, very large lake, fed by three rivers coming down out of the mountains. Eventually, the chariots circle, cross out over the lake, and then come back in for a landing in a small clearing in the forest, right on the edge of the lake. And you see a small encampment, 15, 20 hide tents, woven baskets holding food, a large leather sack sitting above a fire that they're keeping low. You smell what you recognize. For some reason, you know this smell. It's root vegetable stew that's kind of cooking away in that bag. And you see various humanoids moving about the camp, doing various chores. You see racks of spears. You see, people cutting wood. A variety of humanoid races. You see elves. You see humans. You don't see any dwarves, but you do see what appear to be a couple goblins, some halflings. In your head, you recognize these different species. You also see some what looks to be, crosses of these different lineages, and you do see a couple tieflings. As the chariots come to a landing, and you step off of them, they disappear without a trace. They're 1 second they're there, blink your eyes, they're gone. No smoke, no pyrotechnics, nothing fancy. And the residents seem to be staying away from you this second. What do you all do?
Well, I suppose that going away is part of helping us fit in. I believe we need to find Irkian, was it?
Yeah, so Arku is just going to stride boldly towards the encampment and call out in a bold voice, we seek the one called Irkian.
Keen's gonna follow behind our elf.
Awesome.
Right behind him, just keeping watch.
So, as you do this, a large portion of the camp kind of backs away quickly with this boldness. They look a little skittish. But walking towards you is a tall, sturdy-looking elf with brown skin and bright blue eyes and long, dark hair. Everyone here is wearing similar garb to you. It's all rough hides. They're cured. It doesn't smell like a butcher shop constantly, but they are hides. And he approaches you. Behind him, just over his shoulder, is a deathly pale elven woman with dark hair and green eyes. She's looking at all of you, but she doesn't immediately say anything to you. But Irkian approaches Arku and just says, "Oh, hi! I'm the one. I'm Irkian. Hi. You were sent by the gods. I assume. Nice to meet you. I'm the leader, the leader in life of this tribe. Thanks for coming to help us."
Yes, we understand something has been hunting you. Where to put a stop to that?
That's great. I mean, obviously, we came here. It's dangerous here, but only in the way that animals and the seasons are dangerous. And things have been good for the last little while. Yeah, but suddenly, like sometimes a rabid wolf will kill one of our hunters, but we know about it, right? That hunter gets bit and then they get sick and then they die, and we understand. But lately, like, entire hunting parties have gone missing, and that's really unusual for us. We don't know what happened to them or where they are. Besides, in this forest, we move with the seasons, and we're really overdue, actually, to move on. But we still are hoping that we can find them, so we've stayed. But we need to move soon. So if you could sort this out, that would be great. I wish I had more information for you. If you have something specific that would help you, I might be able to answer.
And what?
How many parties have you lost?
2 hunting parties of 5, and about 5 other people who were just out gathering on their own or in pairs. All sorts of different people.
Do you mind, Lucius? Did they all go missing roughly in the same direction or all around?
No, some of them were down south where we go to the plains in the winter, to the edge of the plains where there's reindeer. And so some of them were scouting that way, but others were hunting the red deer in this forest further north and west of here. So it all started at one time, and it's all been since then, but not really any one direction. I mean, there's fae in these woods, and sometimes they'll play tricks on you, but They have never hurt anyone.
When's the
Do you-
last time somebody disappeared?
We lost two last week, about 9 days ago.
Is
In
there
what
anyone
direction was
currently
that?
out there?
Sorry, that melded together. I didn't get it.
Sorry. And what
Uh,
direction did they go off in?
Oh, they were heading west. There's a patch of berries, just a couple, maybe a mile from here. We've been collecting from it. They're pretty overripe at this point, but still some that are good.
Hmm.
As more
Is
people,
there anyone out at the moment?
No, I've called everyone back. You look around the camp. He gestures towards. They've built a really crude wooden dock, and you see some people are fishing from it. They've got like wooden traps and some very basic like fishing poles and spears, and they're wading into the lake. It's like we're kind of making do where we are right now. I pray to the gods, and they talk to me sometimes. They told me you'd be coming, so we thought it was worth the risk to stay put.
Ah, I see. Well then, we'll see this problem. We'll see to this problem dealt with. So you said the west, huh?
That the most recent group, yeah. I think we lost more to the south overall, but it was longer ago.
Hmm.
and do you think that they could have left and started their own little tribe? Anything like that?
He looks stunned by that idea. Like you could read it easily. He's not used to trying to keep things hidden. I mean, I guess they could have.
It could be lost.
We know these woods pretty well. I don't. Most of our hunters and gatherers wouldn't have gotten lost. It's possible, though, especially if fey magic or something else turned them around. I mean, I guess they could have started their own There weren't very many of them, and everyone seemed happy. I mean, looking around the camp, I'll get the idea. Like, there's no one outwardly disgruntled, anyway.
Hmm.
The late. Go ahead.
I will attempt to reassure him that we will get to the bottom of this, and then turn to start heading off west.
During the entire conversation, you said the woman with Irkian looked sick to a sense, or just.
It could be sick. It would, since this is the first time meeting her, you're not sure. She is extremely pale, like sea blue veins through very pale skin. You don't know if that's normal for her or not. If it's not normal, then yeah, she looks sick.
I just kind of analyze her a little bit and just
Okay.
what medicinal knowledge I have, and just.
Sure, make a medicine check then.
Does that not transfer over?
I saw that in D&D Beyond.
Oh no, it won't transfer over, but I can see both.
16.
Awesome. So, two things you get from that. One, she's healthy. You're initially like, wow, really pale. But as you look, like she has a plumpness of flesh. She's not like malnourished or anything. She looks healthy, but you realize, like this is just how she looks. She's just, for some reason, she doesn't tan. She's young by elven standards. And again, this is like knowledge that you're not sure why it's rattling around in your head. Irkian is as well. They're they're definitely below a century. They are, by elven standards, children.
Good.
Um,
Keen
do-
looks to the. Oh no, sorry. I didn't mean to. I mean, Keen's gonna look to the leader. Since Archu went to the west, he'll look to them and like, we'll be back. We'll take care of it. Just stay here and keep an eye out. And he will fire Archu.
Awesome.
while we've got you for a moment, do either of you have a good idea of how long everyone's been around here?
Oh, this group, uh, we came to this world through the Feywild, fleeing.
Oh,
Um, we've only been here for, oh, just counting seasons on his fingers. 4 years, I think.
Hmm.
About 4 years.
okay. All right, thank you. And I'll turn around and follow towards the west.
Awesome. Any other questions as the group starts to head west?
I think Lucius has one more.
Go for it.
When they mentioned the Fae, you came through the Feywild. Is it possible that the Feywild took them back?
Oh, I suppose that's always possible. I don't know much about it myself. We crossed through it and were brought here by Fae that still serve the gods. My understanding is that there shouldn't be portals left open, but legends in our people say the Feywild is very chaotic, so I'm not really sure. But it hasn't happened before. I guess that doesn't mean it couldn't have happened now.
Lucius kind of like bows a little bit. Thank you for answering all the questions.
We'll be here when you get back. If you need to camp or anything, we'll make room for you, and we have food and everything. Good luck and thank you.
Rock is gonna just nod his head up and down in a sort of bobbing motion and say, "Thank you for the thank you for the information," and just turn around and follow everyone. But now is actually experimenting with his wings, flapping up and down, and then just like kind of hopping using his wings.
Nice. So the area you're in, looking around as you all start to head west, the lake stretches. You can't really see the opposite shore. It's a very large lake. You can kind of see the way it curves up northeast, and it continues west, and then seems to start curving northwest. The forest where you are now starts out around this clearing. Is obviously, you see stumps, and it's obviously been thinned out a little bit around this camp as they've brought down trees for firewood. And this far north, like, you can tell there's even a temperature difference from where you woke up. It's not major, it's still during the day, it's still sunny, but it's a little cooler. The forest gets thicker and thicker, probably forcing Rock to stop hopping and flapping wings as the underbrush starts to build up and the trees get closer together. It feels like a very ancient forest. And again, this knowledge is just kind of in your head.
As we're traversing, Lucius will definitely keep in mind what the gods told him and essentially look for any plants that kind of stick out from the rest, whether in their bunching or just in general, if there's something different and unique around here.
Awesome. Give me half a second. Can you make a survival check for me, please?
Not good. 3.
Um, as you go to look through these plants and everything, the underbrush, the trees, your brain just starts cataloging all of it. And while it seems like a lot of knowledge has now been brought into your conscious mind from your unconscious mind, you don't. It makes it very hard to pick out anything that would be useful. So don't find anything this time around. So you head west. Um, the day drags on, and you can see through breaks in the trees the cloud um, moving across the sky. Um, After about a mile, you come to the edge of a clearing. Um, it's not a big clearing, but it's a small, like, hole in the forest where tall grass and wildflowers are growing, and you do see some what looks to be blueberry bushes. Um, they look pretty ripe. There's a little bit of a smell of alcohol and vinegar in the air from these berries hitting the ground and fermenting. Um, but it is tall grass for about 200, approximately a 200-foot circle, oblong circle.
No one else is doing anything. I will gather said blueberries, knowing that they were kind of struggling a little bit with their pond to get food, and just kind of gather some of that up.
Okay, so not a problem. You can grab, like, the one issue you have is your hands are pretty badly stained afterwards because these are very ripe. So some of them are quite soft. But besides that, not a problem to gather a bunch and add them to your bag for bringing back later. Now that you're at the clearing, what does everyone want to do?
Though I'm not the best at it, Arku would just get right to it and start looking for any signs of disturbance or tracks or anything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Survival or nature, whichever you prefer.
I'm gonna help out Archie with that.
Okay, with advantage then. Nice. Awesome. It doesn't take you long to find a variety of footprints, especially towards the lake where the ground is a little softer. You do find wolf prints, but normal-sized wolves. Nothing that should be a major threat to humanoids who are experienced in surviving in the woods. You find deer footprints. As they said, there's red deer in these forests. They've probably been here eating these berries as well. You find human footprints or humanoid footprints with, the crude shoes made from tanned hides. All over, everywhere the ground is soft enough to take a footprint. What strikes you as interesting is most of these footprints come into the clearing. You're able to walk the perimeter of it, find series of prints, and follow them into the woods, back towards the lake, as they move around the clearing. With that roll, you were able to find 2 pairs of footprints that are near a bush, near the lake where the ground is softer. One set of footprints just stops. There's footprints walking up to a bush, and then no heel marks for a turn or anything. Just no more footprints afterwards. Another set of footprints beside it, which you're guessing from the depth is the same time. Walk up to the bush, and then there's a deep imprint where the feet twisted, one set of steps, and then also missing. Just the trail stops.
Keen's gonna look up, see if there's like any like broken branches or something.
Make a
Which is
nature
like-
check, please. Yeah.
Nature check.
So you're thinking, like, in terms of something flying picked them up, is what
Yeah,
you're
like
looking
a
for?
bird of prey.
Yeah. With that in mind, yeah, you check branches near the edge of the clearing. Doesn't look like it. None of following all the footprints that Arku found. You don't see anywhere a large bird has landed. You don't see any molted feathers or anything. It doesn't rule it out specifically, but there's no evidence for it either.
I'd like to just like have a look around the clearing, see if something seems out of place.
Okay. Make a nature check.
Nature. Where'd you go? There you are. Ooh.
Yeah, nothing seems out of place around the edges of the clearing. Again, like, you're finding a lot of hoof prints from deer, as one would expect, with a nice available source of food here.
I will also look up from where the tracks stopped, but I'm looking for if there are overhanging branches or anything close enough that something could have reached down and pulled them up into the trees.
Awesome. You're actually far enough away from the edge of the clearing where you are that no, it wouldn't be possible.
I walk up
Interesting.
to Arku. So, what have you found here?
Well, the tracks stop and at this bush, and there's two sets, and it looks like something happened to the one person, and the other person had just a moment to react and turn around and try and start running away before something happened to them as well.
I think Lucius is going to reach into this particular bush. Well, if they were gathering, maybe there's something in there, or... And just reach my hand into it.
Awesome.
Kian just gets ready with his stone axe.
As you do, your hands get absolutely covered in blueberries, like right up to the elbow. Other than that, no, it appears to be a regular bush. Again, if you want more blueberries, that's a possibility in there, but the bush itself doesn't appear to be, or at least is not currently active or in any part of this disappearance.
Anything, Lucius?
More blueberries. And then he'll lick his fingers.
Yeah, real ripe, real sweet, little bit alcohol-y.
With a bit of concern for the information we've gathered, I'll move up to Archu, placing my hand on his shoulder and give him a vigilant blessing.
Awesome.
So you'll have advantage on your next initiative roll.
And as I walk a little bit further towards the group, I'll tap Arku on the back and give them what is it? Guidance as well, in case. Definitely with my blueberry hand too. Just.
We just put on his face like, oh.
Very, very good. Thanks.
How far are the trees away from the bush?
About 20 feet.
20 feet? I am going to go towards the trees which are nearest and start closer examining, even looking up in the lower hanging branches to see if something could have snatched them from this far away and pulled them back into the forest.
Yeah, make an investigation check. Alright, so again, yeah, nothing seems to be all the branches of the trees nearby look intact. You don't see any stripped bark or anything like that. Going off your survival check earlier, investigation wise, yeah, you don't get anything here. But you were already looking earlier for tracks. You find some tracks inside the edge of this forest that don't go into the clearing. They look smallish, humanoid, smallish, maybe a child or a halfling, very slight person. And they seem to get near the clearing and then head back towards the lake, but staying in the forest, never entering the clearing.
Can I tell if they're about the same age as the ones that disappeared?
You're guessing they're a little bit older. Or at least they're a little bit less deep. That could be and like a little less defined. So it could be a weight thing, or it could be they filled back in and softened a little.
Well, I will turn to the others and say, well, there's some tracks here that came up to the clearing but didn't enter it, and so I think we should see where they might lead us.
Yes, that sounds good.
How small is the footprint?
It could be a child's footprint, like a very young teenager or tween. Could be a halfling, a small-sized halfling or gnome.
Archie, what the first set of footprints just ended, and then the second footprints, had they like turned. What do you know? What direction they turned away from? What direction did this thing come from?
I guess that's for me to answer more. The set that turned, both sets walked up to the bush.
Mm-hmm.
The one that turned directly away from it, like
Right.
Pivot on the ball of the foot and just take off running for 2 steps.
Northwest, south.
That would have been southwest, is the way they turned.
So it was northeast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they could have turned and started going directly back the way they came because they were trying to get back to their encampment.
True.
Do you think the deer had enough being hunted and decided it's our turn? just throwing it out there.
Nature hunting people? Not sure about that.
Would we have any knowledge of centaurs?
Oh yes, centaurs are fey, so you definitely would have been imparted with that knowledge.
Do the hoof prints that we see match anything that possibly?
If the hoof prints are similar in shape, but they would be very small centaur, possibly a young satyr would fit it a little bit better, but even then you don't really see it enough of them that would be 2 feet as opposed to 4. So it looks like it probably deer or young centaur. I mean, possible.
Keenan's gonna pointing at the new the small footsteps. We should follow this. Maybe it'll lead us the answers we need.
Yes.
As Keenan and Arku start to walk away, I'm realizing we've looked up and sideways, but we haven't looked down.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go over to where the ground is, kind of near the bush, trying not to disturb the footprints, but dig for a moment.
Awesome.
In the soft ground, see if there's anything underground.
So the ground is really muddy there. And it is, both harder because it kind of almost, after you get 6 inches, the ground is soft enough that it kind of slides back as you dig. But it doesn't take you long to get in there, and in amongst the roots of this bush, you find a small round chunk of it's black shiny rock. It's kind of similar to flint, but it's not flint. Feels similar. Make a nature or history, whichever you prefer. You identify it as obsidian, volcanic rock. It's been smoothed down with handling some after being flaked, and you don't see. I mean, you haven't been in this area for very long, but A, you saw no active volcanoes on the way in, and B, from what you've seen so far, if there is obsidian in this area, it's not on the surface anymore. There's none at the camp. There's none in the tools that you saw at the camp. There was none on the edge of the lake. So.
Oh, then I'll point that out as they're starting to walk away. Does this mean anything to anyone? Found a piece of volcanic rock here in the roots of the bush.
Rock is gonna be overjoyed at the discovery. And just be like, "Oh, can I see it? Can I hold it? Can I touch it?" And just run up to you.
I'll happily
And
hand it to Rock if he has more knowledge about it than me.
Do I have any like specific knowledge pertaining to this?
As you hold it,
obsidian?
you get images in your head of how it could be used to make a sword using a wooden trunk and then a whole bunch of this flaked off as a blade. But you need a whole lot more of it. You know that it can take a very sharp edge, but can also but it's quite brittle, so it's fairly easy to round off. And it's real pretty. It's volcanic rock, but it's almost volcanic glass as well. Other than that, it is not normally found in an area with what appear to be glacial lakes and runoff from mountains. That would be pretty unusual. It's most often found near an active volcano.
Right. It's very strange that you found this here. This is interesting. I could possibly use this to make something sharp, like a knife. Or an arrowhead. Do you guys know what an arrowhead is? I don't know.
We have bows and arrows.
I mean, you could copy from your arrows.
Yeah.
Smash some of
The
it.
the thing that I think Rock is not getting at is like how he knows this information rather than like, oh, I know this, but I don't know how, and I don't have any context to how I know it. But yeah, so he's just gonna be like, I can make a bunch of things with this. This is interesting.
How close are we to the lake at this point?
About 30 feet. It's not. This clearing isn't that far off the lake.
I'm gonna wander over to the lake and make sure there's not a underwater volcano hiding in there that we haven't noticed.
The lake is very clear up to a certain depth. The edges of it, you find rounded, small gray rock. Just there, you see no other flakes of obsidian. You do see that a lot of these pebbles have flecks of green and the occasional shiny bit to them. But besides that, you don't see anything resembling a chunk of obsidian. And I would also note, sorry, just to double down on it, the area you found it in the roots of that bush, there were no other rocks. It was pure soil.
Well, I'll whistle for Rock. Might be some more interesting things over here for you.
And I'd say
he's already there. He's already there, just sifting through.
So I will say the area heading back towards the lake is also sort of heading towards the area where the other footprints in the forest were found. in the same direction, just you're 20 feet, 30 feet south. Yeah, rock at the edge of the lake. You're like, oh, green flecks. That's copper. That's going to be useful one day. Oh, hey, the silvery stuff that might be tin. Those two go together really well. One day this will be super useful knowledge.
I'm just gonna start gathering things, and I realize this later. This is probably going to be to the detriment of Zarok's inventory management, but
200 pounds of rock that needs smelting when we enter a later technological.
Hey guys, look at my shiny rocks.
I'm just gonna have a cloak, and I'll just be like, "Hey, you want some rocks, kid?"
I got this crystal rock. It's pretty good.
DM, roughly what time of day is
You're
it?
in early afternoon at this point.
Okay.
You have some sunlight left. I will note it is getting where you are now. Again, this is instinctual. All of you know this. And it was mentioned by Irkian as well. It's getting late in the season. So the days are a little shorter. Obviously, they don't have PM, AM. They don't know it's a 24-hour clock. But, by 9 p.m., the sun's going to be down.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're early afternoon now, you've got maybe 8 hours of sunlight to use.
Keen's gonna he's gonna follow the small footprints and he's gonna crash down and go stealthy, just see where it leads.
Awesome. Make a nature check for me.
All right.
Yeah, the footprints are. The path doesn't seem too difficult to follow. And it does head to the northeast. Up around the lake, maybe? Hard to say. You'd have to follow it for a bit.
Okay.
So it's everyone, before he gets too far away, what's everyone else doing? Are you all following that? Keenan and Arku?
Yeah, I'll follow along with the tracks.
Same. Are we leaving our own tracks behind?
Only, it looks like the Earth's a little drier than when a lot of these were put down, so only near the lake shore, some of the areas that absorbed more water because they were a little lower and the ground softer. But for the most part, the ground seems to have firmed up since some of these prints were left. So you're not leaving as many.
Okay. So we don't get lost, and knowing that these blueberries are staining, I'm just gonna leave little markings, blue markings on our path there, wherever we're going.
Yeah, you can do that anytime you see a rock or lots of trees to mark as well. Great. So you continue on following these paths. One thing with all of you looking at this as you go, the paths swerve interestingly. They twist around the trees in a way that suggests, I think, playing. It runs circles. The path will do a full circle around a tree and then continue the direction it was going. The second set will cross, a third set will join and then disappear, and you don't know if they maybe climbed a tree or they're bouncing. There are some rocks left in this forest, and if you were agile, you might be able to bounce rock to rock and swing on the branches. But there's a sense of play.
How many sets of tracks are we following? I thought there was just one set of small.
It started as one, occasionally becomes two, couple circumstances becomes three, and then back down to one. And again, just the way it's like coming in and out. They disappear. Now, there are low enough branches here that you could be following one person walking and a few people who are in trees. You don't see any markings in the trees themselves, though. How long do you want to follow? And I'll tell you how far you get along this trail.
I'm gonna keep going. See, gotta find what's going on here.
Awesome. Couple hours? 3 hours?
Before we get too far, Do I notice a specific direction it seems to be going? The footsteps?
Following it, it seems to be following the edge of the lake, staying about 40 feet off the lake, heading to the northeast. So, following the edge of the lake, though.
Can I fly up and get above all the obstructions and try and look in that direction?
Absolutely.
See what's there.
Yeah, so you can fly out over the lake where it's, a lot easier to spread your wings. Getting up high enough, unfortunately, pretty much all you see is forest top, lake, and far in the distance, hundreds of miles away, mountains. Make a perception check. Let's see if you catch anything else. So, while you're up there, you do note the occasional glimpse of another bird in flight. Some owls that seem to be coming out a little early, some smaller birds, and you see the occasional deer moving in small herds through the forest when they hit clearings. You don't see anything particularly notable or suspicious, but you do note that at the north edge of this lake, there are some very large trees that seem to tower over the rest to some degree. It's in the direction that the footprints are going, but you're not sure. Until you follow them, you won't know if they go all the way there. But since you did get that vantage...
Cool. I'm gonna fly back down and say, hey guys, there's some really cool taller trees up ahead. I wonder if these footprints go to it.
Which direction?
About north, at the north of the lake.
It's northeast of where you are now, which is the north end of the lake, yeah.
Yes.
Large enough for something to maybe live in or habit around?
Yeah.
I looked at the footprints. Are they like heading to the same direction where my tree is?
Yep. You think it's Rock, you think it's going to take you another 3 hours or so to get there. But yeah, they're heading that direction.
Yeah, long trek.
Yeah, it's a big lake. Like I said, you couldn't see when you were on the south side of it, you could not see the north side from the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm good to go for a couple hours.
I'm for continuing the journey.
I want to see what happens.
Well, don't forget, if it does get a little dark, I can make it easier on us to traverse through night.
All right.
Sounds wonderful. On the way, I would still like to be on the lookout for interesting materials and things.
Yeah, I mean, your brain is just cataloging. The best workable material in this area is wood. Like, it's, very nice trees and everything. Other than that, it's a lot of like glacial rock that's been displaced from whenever this place had glaciers, which you can build out of it, but it's not the best for some of it. You might be able to find some flint to make tools with, but that's not going to be the predominant stone. So heading northeast, following the edge of the lake for a couple hours, this small set of footprints continues on, and you follow it again. Sometimes a second set comes in, sometimes a third set, and there's always at least one set on the ground. And it continues onwards. And after a couple more hours, you can see the forest thinning out to some degree at the north edge of the lake. and then you see 3 great trees. The trunks are about 30 feet around. Easily could, haul the one out and live in them. Easily, the lower branches are very thick and heavy and easily could be built upon. And you head towards them, following those footprints. You don't see any movement at first. You're now the lake is now, like the lake shore is about 30 feet south of you. And as you approach these trees, the footprints split off into about 7 different directions. It goes from being one set and then shoots out like a rainbow of footprints. And they go running around these trees. And as you take a look at following these footprints and look at the directions they all go and look up at these trees, you see eyes shining back at you like cat's eyes from all in these trees, and you see movement like the fluttering of small wings at some parts of the trees. And then some of those wings start to light up, and it almost looks like butterflies or iridescent scales shining back at you from the little daylight that there is left. And we are going to take a 5 to 15 minute break for everyone to go to the bathroom, get drinks, and then we will jump right back to there. That sounds good for everyone.
All right.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think Gari's the only person who has updated theirs.
I had to update mine too. You have to do it in your Foundry profile, I think.
Okay.
Are you referring to your name in the players listing in the lower left?
Yeah. So yours on the camera switches from your character name to your name.
Oh, okay. So in the player listing, right-click your own name and go to user configuration,
Okay.
and then you have to claim your character, and then it will alternate back and forth for you.
Okay.
So claim your character and then save the configuration.
Ah, yeah, there we go.
Nice.
And that also means that just hitting C without having anything selected will open your character sheet for that character.
Awesome.
That's nice.
Much appreciated.
That is nice. Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Think it's a matter of time till one of us disappear.
Yeah.
I'll just fly up one of these times and just get yanked away, and you guys won't know anything.
I thought that's
Yeah.
what was gonna happen when I reached into the bush.
I was about to make a comment about that. I was gonna have like Zarek chuckle or something and just be like, "Oh, look how all tense we are."
I was about to whack a bush.
Yeah, jokes
I
on
was thinking like
a
what's it
bush
called?
mimic.
A bush mimic, yeah, exactly.
Oh, no, not bushman. Just
Nothing
imagine
is safe.
Just
Nothing is
imagine
safe.
the blueberry you eat is a mimic.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god.
Slowly it would be parasites in your stomach just
Oh,
eating
God.
you alive.
I'm
A
sure it's
mimic
But it's a
fine.
mimic.
parasite. Yeah, that's worse.
Oh, Gary, have you seen Vigilant Blessing before?
I have not, actually.
Okay, so it's because I think I saw you use like a D4 as though it was guidance, but it's a bit different. It's basically until you use it or I put it on someone else, you have advantage on just the initiative roll.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So it doesn't have like. So you're always ready.
He did have guidance as well, so the D4. But yeah, he has the
okay.
advantage on. Yeah, he has the Vigilant Blessing advantage on his next initiative roll. Which, yeah, that one's quite handy at times. Okay, is everyone back? Looks like everyone's back.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
Awesome. One of my cats is trying to eat gummy candies. Those are not cat food.
Oh no.
He stopped. It's just, there's a bowl of food I'm eating from, so he, of course, wants it. Awesome. So, let's pick up. You're at the base of these trees, maybe 30 feet away from them as a group. And the footprints you've been following just spread out in a rainbow pattern. One set of footprints turning into looks to be about 7. And there are cat eyes upon you in the tree. Small lights, almost willow-wispy, dancing lights coming up. in the tree.
Ooh.
Not super bright, but they're colorful. And yeah, there's some looking down at you. So what do you all do?
Zarok is gonna, for some reason in this moment, decide to call out and say, "Hello," and just wave.
Cool. Almost immediately, you get a chorus of voices that echo back to you. Fairly childlike, fairly high pitched, and they strike a weird harmony as they all kind of almost yell, but not quite. Oh, hello! And it just kind of echoes through the forest.
You guys have pretty wings.
It's like, oh, the ones with wings don't talk. We have pretty feet, though. And you see, all of a sudden, it's like darkness is lifted from the lower branches of the trees. And you see where there was eyes a second ago. There's maybe, that you can see, 20 childlike figures. And as they're sitting on the branches with their feet hanging down, you see that all of them have feet that point backwards. They're all wearing clothing that looks a little bit nicer than hides, a little bit more advanced. They don't look mortal.
So their feet point backwards?
So their heels
So
are
the-
in front of the... yeah.
So the tracks we were following meant they were walking backwards.
Or, yeah.
Towards the
basically.
clearing.
Yeah, so they came from here into the clearing.
But we didn't. Just recalling back, did we see tracks essentially running the opposite direction? Essentially heel towards the trees that we're at now?
Not running. I mean, some of just the general traffic tracks you would have seen there would have headed this direction, but nothing that followed the entire way.
Okay.
The tracks that ran away, assuming those were humanoids with their feet on the normal way, would have been this direction, which is, the bush would have been between this direction and them, and then turning and going. But that's, at this point you've traveled several miles, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just say we're looking for a couple of people who seem to have disappeared from a clearing a few miles back there. Did any of you see what happened?
They look, and that you see a whole variety of expressions on their faces. Some of them look scared, some of them look joyful, some of them look amused. It's the ones who look amused that answer you. It says, "Oh no, are you talking about the big folk that moved here?" No, they're all down, their camp's on the other side of the lake. We leave them alone.
Insight check.
Go for it.
That's fine.
Seems absolutely truthful.
I was watching this as well. Can I insight as well? Or-
Absolutely, yeah. Most honest people you've ever met. Of course, you've been alive for several hours, but
We could not know right from wrong yet. We'll learn it soon. King's gonna yell, "Who's your leader?"
We don't really do the leader thing. It didn't work out for us so well back in the Feywild. So we
Oh.
just take care of ourselves.
You're from the Feywild.
Well, yeah, aren't you? You don't seem exactly like the others.
Well, we're here looking for a missing group. people. Not sure. You saw them or anything?
Oh, we've seen them many times. I didn't know if they were missing, though. I mean, I guess they're only missing if they're not where they're supposed to be. Where are they supposed to be? Because then I could tell you if they're missing.
Keen just looks at the others and just shrugs.
They're supposed to be at a camp several miles back.
Oh, then some of them are missing, yeah.
Do you know where they are instead?
No. And you see, again, it's not exactly like tragedy and comedy faces switching, but there's a bit of that to it where, like, some of them have, like, swift mood changes. Very visible on their face, not trying to hide it at all. There's other things in the forest now. This is a happy place, though. So they don't come here. We don't go there. We don't talk about them, and they don't bother us.
Oh, so these things have they only showed up just recently?
What year is it? Another one turns before you can answer. What's a year? Seasons? What's a season? Sure, yeah. No, it was like the sun was up when it happened and it's up now. So it was, yeah, just happened.
It just happened?
I think so.
Gosh.
Did it go down before?
Oh,
Between now and then?
yeah. Probably a couple times, actually.
How many moons ago?
There's no moon.
Yeah, there's no moon.
And, like, there's a moon, and all their eyes look up. And they just stay up, just looking. Because, yeah, there isn't a moon yet. You all know what a moon is. That's not an abnormal thing to ask. It just doesn't apply in this specific situation.
Oh, we don't have a moon yet. Okay.
Yeah. You're gonna have to talk to Rock's god about that to get that behind schedule on that particular project.
Gonna ask that later then. Gotta keep that note.
So Arku is growing kind of visibly impatient, and will press forward. We followed a trail from the clearing where these people disappeared straight here. Are you sure you didn't see what happened to them?
No, we didn't see. Are you talking about the blueberry clearing?
I hold up my hand.
There are blueberries there, yes.
Oh, okay, No, we didn't see anything. We usually go there for blueberries because they're delicious and they're going to be gone soon. But when we got there, we came back because it didn't feel good. It didn't feel normal.
Didn't feel normal.
Rock, you were the one flying over the lake, correct?
Yes.
Did you see other large trees like this towards the south? The other
believe so.
directions where they went missing? No.
Yeah, no. This is the only set of larger trees
In this area, anyway.
Okay.
in this area.
From what you were able to see.
Is there something here that scares the lot of you?
As you say that, they all kind of squint at you. The wings behind them that have been moving slightly, you could finally see the creatures as they come forward into the light more. Looks like tiny little dragon-like creatures. And those creatures land on some of the shoulders of these small humanoids and kind of butt their heads. And one of the ones that's been speaking to you narrows their eyes and says, Actually, you feel like what we felt there. Why are you here? Are you not nice?
Hmm.
I will
Interesting.
gesture for either Eddie or Rock to come up forward, whoever's holding it, and ask them to bring out the chunk of obsidian and see
Uh,
if that's what they're reacting to.
I'm gonna. I think I have a hold of it right at this point. I'm gonna hold it out. Is this what you're feeling?
They all pull back. The pseudo dragons, the little dragon creatures, fly up further into the tree. And they said, "That's not from here. It's not from the Feywild either. It's from a bad place. You shouldn't have that, and you shouldn't bring it here. Don't leave that here when you go."
I'm gonna rapidly step back. I'm okay. Okay.
I'll continue. I promise we will not leave it here. We found it in the blueberry clearing, where we were looking for any trace of the people who have gone missing.
Oh, so you took it away so the blueberry clearing will be good again? Great. Well, thank you.
Um,
Do you have any idea how it got there?
No, it wasn't there the last time we went there, and then it was when we went again.
question: have you felt this elsewhere in the surrounding forest?
You see about 30 of them converge on a branch, like putting their heads together, like in a huddle, and little whispers coming out of it. And then they disperse back along these thick branches again. And you hear them say, again in chorus, about 10 of them in chorus. Yeah, we have. We don't want the forest to be like that. It wasn't like that before.
Trust us, we don't want that either. I know this is going to be a lot. Would some of you be willing to show us where this uncomfortable feeling comes from?
Oh, sure. And one of them jumps down. It's about 15 feet up, and this creature is maybe 3 feet high. 4 pseudo dragons grab it by the clothing and lower it to the ground in front of Lucius. And it holds up its finger and says, "Come here."
I reach towards them.
No, no, no. Bring your brain here. I need to work on your brain.
I kneel. I guess I kneel down.
It tapped right in the center of your forehead. And you just get a bird's eye view. And you realize almost instantly it's the view that you had when your chariot was coming in, and you could see over this entire land. And you see red spots appear, little red spots. One at the blueberry clearing, a fainter one where you are now, and instinctually you know it's rock with that obsidian. That's exactly where it is. 2 more between the south end of the lake and the edge of the forest, and 1 east of here, between these big trees and the mountains. Looks to be like maybe 10 miles northeast of the lake. It's actually the closest one to you now that you know the blueberry clearing is not one anymore.
Is it safe to assume where these other red spots are is where those parties went missing?
I don't know that it's safe to assume that. You could, the directions...
General areas, okay.
The directions match. I will say that, yeah, from what you were told, that's where the larger parties went missing.
I kind of get back up, nose bleeding again from just this flood of information being dumped into my mind yet again.
Lucius, are you okay? And he's gonna wipe the blood off your nose.
I've seen other locations where these fragments could be. Rock, I don't think we should have this.
But it's useful.
It's Dangerous?
No, keep it, Rock.
How do we know that?
I think Rock should keep it. It could be useful.
If that's a marking for whatever this creature is, we're now, or being, or whatever, we're now a moving target.
You think whatever this creature is can locate based on the obsidian?
Could be. From what I saw, I can bring us to locations where these could be to, I guess, validate that theory.
Or
Well, go ahead.
another thing is this could be just like a calling card, okay, of this creature and being like, "Hey, I took your people," and it's dropped a rock there, and it means nothing.
True.
You said you saw other places where these were?
I did. To that note, if we're close to whatever this force may be, if we move closer to it and if they can sense it, why not just run further away?
With this
Go ahead, sorry.
with this added information, can I think back on the clearing, and did it seem like the plants were dying at all?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
But I will just say this is the most recent event as well. So
Yeah.
Lucius, do you know? So you saw these red spots, right?
Yes.
Could you lead us to it?
I can certainly try. I guess your knowledge of the forest is as good as mine. But one other thing, with these red spots, did they seem to be moving in a particular direction? With this blueberry one being the most recent one.
there was no movement. It was like a static map, essentially, that you were shown, and there was no differentiation. The only difference that was there was the blueberry patch was a little bit faded. Your current location was a little bit faded, simply because, like, to denote, to tell you it's been moved. This is where it is. The others are where they experienced the same feeling, which was to them static when they were there.
Okay. Well, I'm more so meant like when I saw the static map. Is it in a straight line or is it sporadic?
It's sporadic.
Okay.
It's, yeah. One of them's east of here. Two of them are south in slightly different directions. And, no line or anything.
So, Lucius, you think that this puts us in danger to have
I
this
think
rock with us?
I think it could.
Then I think it's imperative we gather the other ones so that no one else is in danger. Stumble across them accidentally.
Yeah. I feel like we need to check another site to see if there's any coincidental factors.
I'm not proposing don't collect them. I'm proposing collecting and disposing of them.
Yes, I agree with that.
How?
It seems to me that we now have a new target. And I'll look at Lucius expectantly and just say, lead on.
I think our best course of action would be going to one of the other missing sites just to be certain if they're linked.
Is there one nearby?
No, we'd have to return to the camp and travel southward, correct?
You could go to the easternmost one. It's essentially northeast of the camp, which is almost directly east of where you are now. Would be closest. The other two are south, and they're on the other side of the camp.
Okay, and we have a satyr in our party, correct?
Yes, that's me.
Do you react? Do they react to this? No.
It doesn't seem to be leads to these creatures being fey. It's some other ability of theirs is letting them sense this.
I don't particularly feel what they're feeling from this rock.
No.
Okay. I I mean, that's up to you guys. Traverse through the night, stop back and let them know. But I don't feel right with bringing the stone to the camp. If it is a marking or calling card, why give them a direct location to their targets?
I think that since we're that much closer to this other site, and it's in the opposite direction of back to the camp, we should go see it first, and if we find another chunk of stone, then we at least have the makings of a pattern that we can draw conclusions from.
Yeah.
I think that could be the best course. And we've traveled about 3 hours, so we're about 3 to 4 hours till sundown for sure. Okay.
Yep.
Well,
Should we head back to the camp, or should we keep looking for more clues to this endeavor?
it's gonna be a long night, but maybe head to the next clue.
Yes, I'll put a vote towards moving towards the next clue.
Okay.
I am agreed.
So
I wanna
no
learn
need to
more about
endanger the
these.
camp.
I agree.
Awesome. The one who climbed down has climbed back up, and they are all looking at you expectantly from the tree as you have this private discussion. You see that they're making some pretense of not listening, but in a very childlike way. They're obviously listening.
I kind of thank them, bow again. I think I will leave the blueberries here, seeing that they were also struggling to, and that seems like that's what they're eating for the most part.
Wait, hold on. We could give them the berries, not leave on the ground.
Well, that's the plan.
Here, Keen would hold his hand. I can give him the berries.
I pull them out of my makeshift satchel and hand them over.
Thank you. And Keen's gonna go to the tree. He's gonna walk up the tree.
Okay. And into the branches.
Yep. And he'll give he'll show his hand all the berries on his hands and offer them. Thank you for your cooperation. Here's your donation.
So as you walk up the tree, there's some gasps, and they draw back from you at first. And then as you say that, they come closer and closer. And then some of the pseudo-dragons start swooping and grabbing them, and like literally like they're taking prey out of your hand, but it's just grabbing berries. And then these little childlike creatures start swarming near you again, and start taking the berries and stuffing their face. And that close, you hear some say, one of them say to another, "Oh, next time we should take their names as payment, or maybe the color of their eyes. Ooh, maybe their left feet. Oh well, berries are good too." And they stuff their faces, and before long, all the berries are gone.
Keen just chuckles at that, and he will go down the tree and go to his companions. All right, they seem to like it. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on them for a while, but we're good.
So they are all heading out to the east to track the closest spot on that mental map that was given to Lucius.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's going to take, like, if you go through the night, you would get there early in the morning. Or you can camp down for the night. It's up to you all. You definitely have a few more hours before it gets dark, though. You head eastward, and the forest, gets darker and darker. It is very thick. None of the trees, these are large old trees, but nothing like the ones you just left. And for the most part, all you observe is wildlife. It's not. Doesn't seem to be terribly dangerous. As far as prints, you see some of these footprints, which now make a little bit more sense now that you know that these creatures have backwards feet. But they don't seem to come this direction as often. And you see your standard footprints, which you identify as coming from red deer. Maybe something that's a bear. Looks like there might be bears in this forest, and you'd already seen some wolf tracks, but nothing else unexpected in this direction. By the time sun goes down. So overnight, what's the group doing? Are you continuing on? If you continue on till morning, then you might risk exhaustion, or you can camp down for the night.
I think.
I would say camp down for the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think camping would be a good choice.
Yeah, I think some of us don't have dark vision. We got like 2 humans in here.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, probably best to camp down and get a long rest when you have light.
So there's no moon, but are there stars?
There are stars, full stars, and I mean without any light pollution at all. The sky is almost white with stars. That being said, they don't illuminate a huge amount the way a moon would.
I don't know. When Keenan looks up, there's just something missing. Like,
Yeah. I think all of you have that feeling to one degree or another. It's like, yeah, there's supposed to be something else here. There's a little bit of a work in progress feel to this planet. But it was mentioned there is a moon in the works. So we will do watches overnight, just in case anything comes up. Who has got first watch?
I can take that.
Awesome. Make a perception check for me, please.
All right, perception. That normal. Yep.
Awesome.
Every time, oh my god.
I
Well.
start sweating.
Dia makes 3 rolls in a row. Everyone starts like, oh no.
There's got to be some randomness to it. The first part of the watch passes uneventfully. You do feel at a certain point you're being watched. And you look up into a tree nearby and you see 2 little pseudo dragons that appear to have followed you, that are just sitting there watching you. You know, they're kind of cat-like in their movements and about the size of a house cat. And they're just watching you. They don't approach or anything, just watch.
Give them a little wave.
They kind of flutter their wings in response, but just keep watching, and eventually they seem to curl up and go to sleep, and in the tree branches.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll do 3 watches for this group.
Okay.
And so who's got the middle watch?
Oh, I got it.
Awesome. Perception check, please.
Perception check.
Awesome. I assume you let Keenan know on watch switch that you're being watched, but
yeah,
that
point out the pseudo dragons.
All right. He nods his head.
Yeah, they're literally just sleeping in a tree at this point. So, and yeah, Keenan, throughout your watch, everything is quiet the entire night. you feel like you're getting used to some of the predators in this world, I think, as you can hear owls and bats moving through the night. But nothing approaches your camp, and nothing disturbs you as everyone else sleeps.
Keen's gonna he have his axe out and he looks around to his companions. Are like all of them are like kind of sleeping or something like that.
Yeah.
He's gonna slowly reach in his bag and take out the gray stone. The one the gods gave him. And he's gonna start communicating to I forgot the god's name. Oh my good, the guy who gave me the stone.
Belinus.
Balinus. I hook to this stone. I don't know how it works, but I say, "Hello, Balinus."
Okay. After a moment, you get a response. Oh, I guess I really should have explained that. You can send 25 words once a day, so it's used up till morning now.
So I used it.
For the day. At dawn, it becomes useful again. It's used once per day.
Wait, so Balinus tells me that, or
He tells you that in response to your hello, like basically hello, calling
Alright.
him by name. And
I gave him the basic information what is going on.
Well, again, your hello, Belinus, was your message to him. He gets to respond to you, and then that's the end of it until dawn. In the morning, it works again.
Keenan just grabs the stone and put it in his back. Unbelievable, these gods.
I mean, you do have a feeling, you know these are gods. They could reach out to you fully anytime they wanted, but they're choosing to do it this way for some reason. Maybe that's a question for later, but yeah.
Keenan just grumbles like,
Nice. Okay. But yeah, besides that, your watch is uneventful. Who's taking third and last watch of the night?
Arku.
Awesome.
I think Lucius would be up with Arku here for this last little bit.
Okay. I mean, at this point, Arku's probably had Shadowkai trance, do they not?
Yeah. So I'm fully long rested and up.
Yeah, and as long as so that works. And as long as Lucius doesn't do anything super like physical or anything, it still gets the long rest on that last watch. So both of you can roll perception.
I won't.
Okay.
I am going to sit there and stare at Rock, contemplating whether or not I need to take this piece of obsidian.
Okay. So Arku, you notice that Lucius is up, seems to be meditating or something, keeping to themselves, and you turn your attention outwards to around the camp. Nothing seems to bother your camp at all throughout the last bit, and by the end of your watch, the sun has risen, and you have full daylight as everyone else awakes. So everyone through the night, and that was a quiet evening for everyone, and everyone gets a long rest if they used any abilities, and you're good to go.
nice.
So, how does breakfast go in the camp?
So I'll probably wake up as soon as dawn happens and forage for some sort of food, and make food for everybody.
Awesome. Make a survival or nature check, whichever you think you'd be using.
So the wanderer feature says I can find food, water,
Okay.
and stuff for
So okay, awesome, right. Forgot about that.
I also have the chef feat.
Right.
So I'm gonna prepare a couple extra rations.
So you find yeah, I would say you find like birds' eggs and berries and greens that can be, done up for salad and food and stuff like that. Um, you're literally cooking on hot rocks at this tech level, but it is what it is. Um, and you're able to probably snare like rabbit or something like that, and not only prepare some for breakfast, but dry some by the fire so you have some extra rations for later. And yeah, that's not a problem
And
for you.
by chance, is this considered some sort of cook's utensils?
Yeah, essentially, it's very basic, but it is for the tech level. Yeah, you have cook's utensils.
Great. Then yeah, when I take the long rest, I'll make a couple of the cook's treats thing too,
Yeah,
in case we need them later.
Nice.
Lucius, being in a different part of the forest, is going to look around at plants yet again.
Awesome. So yeah, as everyone's waking up and breakfast is being made, make a survival check for me, please.
And I will actually guide myself.
Sure.
So that's a 19 plus stuff.
Awesome.
23.
Nice. Are you looking for healing or hurting stuff?
Healing.
Okay. You find a bunch of primrose flowers, small domed flowers with green leaves. The petals of the flower are kind of butter colored. And yeah, you collect enough to make. You would need a little bit of time over a stove, but you could make essentially a restoration potion from it if you had time to cook it down and ferment it.
Okay.
Not something to do while in camp, but something to bring back. It can be made into something when you have time. Anything else in camp for the morning?
Yeah.
Arku is going to be on the lookout both while we're have some time in camp and then also while we're traveling through the woods for a stout branch that could be made into a quarterstaff.
Awesome.
Hmm.
I will let you know when you come across something like that, but yeah, definitely possible.
And I now for the day have woodcarver tool proficiency. So
Awesome. Great.
While we're still in camp, I would just like to cast Detect Evil and Good.
Awesome. Okay, Detect Evil and Good. Sorry, doing that thing where when you've played through 3 editions, you have to remember how it works in this edition.
I accidentally clicked it. It should be in the chat list now. I accidentally
there
clicked
you
it twice. I can get one of those spell slots back.
Okay, so you do get a feeling that there are Fae within 30 feet of you, and you look up and hey, it's the pseudo dragons. They are still curled up and seem to be sleeping through all of you getting prepared for the day. That being said, that object, that obsidian stone, is considered to be desecrated.
Indeed. I will. I'll bring that up. I just cast a spell out here, and it appears that stone has been desecrated.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Usually
Typically,
that's
a bad thing.
Rock is gonna
Interesting.
look very disappointed. Does that mean I have to give this up?
It would probably be best to not keep a hold of it once we figured out where it's come from.
I guess we're probably gonna pick up another one on the next area that where it was stolen. Maybe we collect them all and then dispose of them all.
Yeah,
we
we
need
should
to.
be okay in that sense.
How do we destroy them all?
That is a good question.
It's obsidian there. I'm pretty sure fire is not gonna do it.
I mean, we could always ask for advice once we know what we're dealing with.
Hmm. All right.
I would say Zephia, you would have some idea that a desecrated object could be made undesecrated through certain very long religious ceremonies. It'd be
Yeah, I
possible
was.
anyway. You're unsure if it would work in this exact circumstance, but you'd have some knowledge of that.
Yeah, I think. I
Now,
think
of course, it
those
depends
kinds of
why it
things
was
are currently.
desecrated too.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that kind of desecration is beyond my ability right now.
yeah, and I mean, it also will depend on how, why, and who
Yes.
made it to be desecrated too, as to how difficult that would be. So, yeah. Yes, the opposite of a holy or consecrated thing. So,
Zephia,
Yes.
would you be able to do this again once we've reached our destination so we're not searching for hours like fools?
Yes, I can do it for. I can do it once more today, and I've got about a range of 30 feet around me for 10 minutes after I've performed this spell.
Okay.
awesome. Anything else in camp in the morning, or are you all getting going?
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keen is just like he's like up in the tree, just hanging off, watching
Nice.
everyone.
Not disconcerting at all. And Keenan just walks up the tree and goes upside down on a branch, and it's a good perch to watch from. Awesome. So as the sun shines brightly, you move out through openings in the trees. You find it looks a little cloudier today, but still a fairly bright day. Heading eastward with Lucius kind of guiding through knowledge. There's no real survival check needed or anything because you have this knowledge in your head. Once you get a little closer, it may be a little difficult to find exactly where it is, but for now you're heading in the general direction, and it's not a problem. Finding a quarterstaff, say about halfway through the day, and you're basically spoilt for choice. You're just like, well, this appears to be, we're pretty far north, and this is some sort of pine tree of some sort. And it's a little resinous, but I don't know. This appears to be red maple. This might make a really nice quarterstaff. And yeah, I don't think you need to roll for that in a deep forest like this. Finding a quarterstaff is not a big deal. And you're spoilt for choice, your pick of wood. Heading eastward, you know you're getting closer to the mountains. There's more rock left behind by the glaciers. You're heading upwards in elevation somewhat, not a crazy amount yet. The ground becomes more rocky. The trees spread out to some degree. And you know you're getting close to your destination probably at about mid-afternoon. Throughout this time, you've observed no more fae. You have observed wildlife around you. The forest appears to be healthy. It has a good variety of wildlife, a good variety of plants, and nothing super unusual on this trip. As you get closer to this area, you find bones of animals. Again, that may or may not necessarily be a bad thing. You know, predation is a thing that happens. But some of these don't appear to have been eaten. They look like they may have been killed and left to rot, with some of the flesh drying to the bones,
Wow.
which would be highly unusual for an animal.
This is interesting, but could prove useful, I suppose.
So, there's deer carcass here that have been, killed and not fully eaten. It's definitely unusual, and it would be unusual for. I think you all would know. Would be very unusual for Fae to do this. So probably not Fae.
King just looks at the. So some are like bones, some are like dead, but like been for days.
Yeah, it's been days. None of them appear super fresh, but it's like they were killed not for the purpose of eating. So there's like deer here that have
Yes.
had bite marks on them, but again, they weren't eaten. They were just killed and then left, and the corpses are now drying in the autumn weather.
How wasteful.
Well, do you think these creatures got a similar feeling that these Fae did? And just left?
Yes. So you said some of these had like bites on them?
Yep.
Am I able to attempt to see what this bite would be from?
Make a nature check, please.
I'm gonna look around for footprints.
Okay. That would be a survival check from Keenan then. So 7 on nature. They look wolf-like. Expected prey for a wolf in this area would be deer. So that 20 for tracks. There are definitely wolf prints here, all directions. Some of the largest seem to continue east, but there's definitely wolf packs that have moved through here.
I would also like to examine the bites. I'm not trying to figure out what animal they came from, but more discern if they had any part in killing the animal, or if it looks like they were, after the animal was killed, something tried to eat it and gave up and left.
Or disappeared?
Nature check, please. From the blood, you think that the bites were the cause of death.
Lucius is gonna gather some of the bones. If there's ribs, the pointy ones, just in case we can use them.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's also racks of antlers and stuff like that if anyone wants material. Hides and soft parts are not so good.
Okay.
But,
I'll gather some antlers just to make some spears later.
Yeah.
Also, notably at this point, this is concerning enough that I'll take the spear off of my back and walk with it in hand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
This seems as good a place as any to see if you sense anything.
Yes. I will recast Detect Evil and Good.
Awesome. You don't detect any Fae or Fiend or Undead. You don't detect any areas that are desecrated. These corpses that have been left to rot, though, they would be considered desecrated.
Okay, like just in a general sense, or the spell picks it up?
The spell picks it up.
Oh.
Yeah, there is a magical component to what was done to these creatures.
Oh, it appears these corpses have been intentionally desecrated.
Desecrated by wolves?
No. I mean, it could be.
Could be magical wolves,
See?
mate.
Yeah, there must be a bigger component than just a generic wolf.
Rock, I know you love this obsidian. Do you mind if I say I promise I won't destroy it?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to
Hand it
hold it
over.
up to the one of the bite marks
Mhm.
and see, would this fit?
It could, but you think it's forcing it. The general size would be about right for some of the larger tooth marks in the bite mark, but the shape doesn't look right.
Just a thought. Who knows what's out here? Maybe there's a creature with obsidian teeth.
That would be interesting.
That'd be
Yeah.
concerning. We should probably follow the wolf tracks, or we could follow Lucius.
Yeah, there's still a little ways. You're pretty close to where Lucius you saw it on the map,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not quite there yet. So
I think, I would suggest make haste because you still have
Yeah.
a duration to it, correct?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Well, I think it's not too far from here, so if anyone else has anything they want to do here, best that we take our leave.
I'm ready. Keen will take his flint spear out and look ahead.
so you all continue heading towards your destination. Lucius, I do need a survival check from you now that we're really trying to pinpoint this last little area.
I will I will guide myself on my
Yeah.
endeavors. Survival. $19.
Nice. I'm gonna say, yeah, with that, the spell is still barely up. As you come across, there's a hill in this forest. It is a forested hill, but it is rockier than you're getting closer to the mountains. Everything's becoming rockier. This hill does not have a ton of vegetation on it. It's the kind of place that, as a hunter, one would, could easily use to get a nice view of the surroundings. And following up it, you come to a lone, kind of scraggly tree on top. And there's nothing particularly that feels out of the ordinary at first. But Zephia, your spell, the last vestiges of your spell, you get a ping just as it fails somewhere in the roots of the tree, the scraggly, short tree that's already lost its leaves a little early.
Yes, okay. There appears to be something down in the roots here.
The roots? Underground?
Yeah.
I'm
It's
gonna.
dark here, so it is possible to dig. It's not going to be as easy as the blueberry clearing, but
I'll start digging and trying to find whatever's down there.
awesome.
I'm gonna help him out.
Great. Make a nature check with advantage since you're getting help from Keenan.
While they're digging, I'm actively standing guard. Learn something may attack us at any moment.
Awesome.
Rock can't dig.
Bro, use those feathers!
they can't grab onto it. Dang it, man.
Use it like a shovel.
Talons, man, talons.
So it does take a little while for you to dig down. It's not that problematic beyond the fact that there's a lot more rock in the soil. The tree has grown and pulled rocks together. But it gets a little weird as you get down into it, and you take 2 points of piercing damage as
Dang.
you're out. You've been digging for a bit. You're 2.5 feet down into the dirt, and you're pulling roots away, and all of a sudden the roots down here have thorns on them for some reason. None of you have ever heard of, none of the knowledge in any of your heads tells you of a plant or a tree that only has thorns on the roots. But these are 2-inch, 3-inch long thorns, the way a thorn bush or rose bush might have. But you do successfully find another chunk of obsidian.
I take out the obsidian and, with minor gasp of pain, as I take my now bleeding hands out from the rock and be like, "Well, I found it. The thorns on the roots, though. Do you know anything about that?"
Thorns underneath? Not sure that's normal in my memory.
It's a potential that this desecrated stone had begun to alter the tree.
Who would put the stone underneath here?
That is the question.
That's concerning. How far are we to this location? To this red dot? Lucius?
This is about it. You think this is probably it.
Well, it's either really, really ridiculous coincidence that there's another one, or just like I theorized, they've been connected. And something or someone is leaving these behind. And I do agree or think that maybe whatever desecrated feeling power is emanating from it is warping the tree. That's just my own personal belief as well.
Well, we gotta get to these other places and see if the same thing is happening. Obviously, the last one was relatively new, so maybe it hasn't happened yet for them.
Yes. Because
So
those fey creatures themselves said that the blueberries were going to go away.
I think that was just seasonal timing thing. But Zephyr got a ping from the obsidian while it was still buried. But he didn't get anything off of the tree itself.
No. But I will say that was just the very remnants of the spell, and it did die at that point. So you're unsure if the roots would have pinged or not. You'd have to, I guess, rest and cast again the next day. So.
So the roots, would they? I look to the hole Rock made, and I'm gonna look at the roots. Did they lead up to the tree? Like kind of like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're definitely attached to the tree. But those roots that were right around the obsidian are definitely different than the roots you can see on the surface and the roots higher up in the soil.
Keen's gonna go down the hole and use his flint knife to, like gently cut out the roots, just not to get pricked.
Yeah. I don't even think you have to, as long as you go above where they're all thorned and everything, I don't even think you have to roll for that. It takes
Okay.
you a bit of scratching at it.
Hmm.
The roots are springy. Um, as you cut it loose, the root, the normal part of the root, the top part, seems just like any other tree root. It's brown, it's springy, it's, a green, hard wood. Um, the part that's thorns is almost turning stone like. The thorns themselves are very hard. They're not exactly obsidian, but they're darker in appearance than the rest of the root. And they are uh, definitely of a firmer texture, a more brittle, like hard texture than the rest of the roots.
Keen's gonna
Yeah.
get out the hole.
Mhm.
He's gonna look at who's her like resident tree hugger.
Uh,
I probably I'm gonna.
Potentially me.
Probably the
I
satyr.
serve. Yeah,
She's
I serve Coranus.
all right. Yeah, he's gonna walk up to her and holds up the crystalline root. Apparently, it looks like it's turning this into some kind of stone-like.
Ah, that is unsettling. I
Um,
feel we definitely need to see these other locations
Sophia, make
now.
a history check.
Something maybe a history. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Keen's gonna give you the root. Oh no!
Dice
Ooh.
are really, yeah. Yeah, it is very unusual for stone to be organic, and that appears to be what's
Yeah.
happening here. That's,
Yeah,
that's what you get onto.
that's not normal.
Yeah. So,
Are you sure, Sophia? I mean, anything could happen in this new world, but
Oh, I'm pretty sure. Maybe after a rest, I can have another look.
all right then.
so what do you want to do now, or do you want what other examination of this area, or are you moving on, or?
I think Lucius would just place their hand on the tree, the main part of the tree, and just speak a little bit in primordial. What are they doing to you? Second target of nature. And just kind of step back.
Tree feels normal, and as per normal, trees does not respond.
Mm-hmm.
Do I
It could have, you never know.
do I see where the hunters were, or at least I'm assuming the group went missing here. Just wondering if there's any sign of distress.
Make a survival check or investigation, actually, whichever you
Yeah,
prefer.
I will assist with that because
Awesome.
that's
So
what I'm
with
looking
advantage. Yeah.
Advantage. Wow, I'm
Hey,
really
that
good
would
at this.
go.
Um, so it doesn't look like anything happened on this hilltop, but from this hilltop, you do see to the north the sign of struggle. A bunch of footprints, pushing rocks, sliding on the stone, leaving dirt where the rock would have been clean otherwise. All in a roughly 15-foot circular area. It's almost back into the tree line from the top of this hill. It's kind of right at the edge of it. Yeah, it does. You don't see any bodies or anything, but it looks like there was a fight there.
And they put up more of a fight than the berry pickers.
I'm gonna say actually with a 23, you find like broken flint spear tips and what looks to be the shaft of a spear that was taken apart.
So can I analyze the scuffle area and see if I can figure out at least what they sort of thing they thought they were fighting against in terms of how they're positioned and where weapons might be discarded and so forth?
Awesome. What kind of check do you want to do for that? And I'm going to take Zarek's check into account. Let's look at your sheet and because that's could go a couple ways.
I mean, insight, maybe?
Sure. Yeah. Do insight.
Oh, dang it.
Like I said, I am going to take Rock's investigation into account because it's all working together too. So, from the looks of it, the angles of the footsteps, the way it was, the way they moved around this little clearing, semi-cleared area, you're guessing they were fighting something shorter than them, maybe waist high at most. But you find two instances in this scuffle area where someone had one back foot planted lower than their front foot and may have been thrusting upwards, like into the sky or at something vastly taller than them. You don't see any footprints to go with the idea of something taller than them, though. What you do find, with Rock's help, is that there do appear to be canine footprints mixed in here.
So what do you
Seems like
think?
they were fighting
Lichens?
wolves or something similar.
Maybe the wolves were jumping at them, and so they were thrusting up to spear them, but
It
obviously
could be,
unsuccessful.
it could be another species, some human, like a humanoid wolf. Maybe, I'm not sure. Just a guess.
But we didn't find those at the other clearing. Is it possible that someone or something can turn into animals?
Could be. I mean, there's probably a lot from the Feywild. I
don't.
could do that. Or
I mean, the berries looked as if they were plucked off the ground somehow by large bird. This one, wolf tracks. Wolf bites, not too far back. What's
Well, we
next?
didn't find any evidence of a large bird or something plucking them out of the sky, but there wasn't anything on the ground to suggest why they vanished. So
Which could be plausible, just straight down. You know, not necessarily they walked their way through or climbed their way through branches as a different animal, and when the time was right, switched to another one. Just a theory.
interesting. Shall we follow this battle? Something. Gotta be something here.
But this was a fairly localized area, right, GM? And it was just gone in this.
No footprints afterwards, no. Nothing leading outwards. I will say, now that you've looked around and you're all looking at that, the only footprints that lead outwards from it are the canine ones. And they actually head back northwest.
Isn't that in the direction of the berry pickers?
Am I wrong?
More north than them. You could get to them by going that direction, but it would be a very inefficient route.
Okay.
Looks like it goes a little north here.
Hmm.
These canine footprints, looks like.
I don't know if we're gonna find much more here unless you guys have something up your sleeves. I think we have to get more information at this point. Go to the next area.
Yeah. So potentially follow these tracks or try and find another stone.
The
I
tracks
see we-
are followable, I will say.
I say we follow them. Gotta be something. from
We
the
should
trees.
follow them while we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
How fresh is these tracks? Are like a little older?
These are a little older. Make a survival check for me.
All right.
So they're a little older. There are more recent ones mixed in the area. So this battle that everyone was investigating just now was like at least a week ago, if not more. But there are more recent canine prints here.
Well, it looks like some of them came back here.
I want to check for prints to see if they lead up to the tree that's on the hill.
I'm going to just give you that because of the investigation check that was already made. It is hard to say for sure because of how rocky the top of the hill is, but you do see some that like partial prints that look like they match the canine prints. Unfortunately, yeah, it's just with the rock and how dry the earth is here.
Maybe back to my theory of different animals. We did see plenty of deer tracks, and maybe we just glossed over it. Maybe they didn't
That is true.
disappear and they were carried off.
Well, I don't see any blood around here.
Well, I mean, there was no sign of a scuffle or bodies actually being, dragged away or anything at the blueberry site.
True, but the gatherers not fighters. They're not hunters. Who's to say they were equipped to deal with that?
Probably they were knocked unconscious, maybe.
I will say that this, although there is obvious signs of a scuffle here, there are no signs that someone was eaten here or that anyone was dragged away here either. The scuffle, however it ended, there's no sign afterwards.
Or of any injuries, right? No blood splatters on the ground, even if it was a fight.
There's no visible blood, no. But I
Yeah.
mean, it would be hard to see that unless it hit rock.
Right.
If it hit earth, it would be hard to see. But yeah.
And then one last thing, I'm gonna glance over at Rock to make sure their demeanor hasn't changed while in possession of these.
Awesome. Make an insight check.
I will guide myself again in this situation.
Now we know the secret DM rules. That's what's been happening this entire time.
Yep.
12.
I don't
How
think
much
rock
rock
has
wants
changed
rock?
at all. I will say,
No.
rock for sure, you do not feel any outside force on your mind as far as you know it. Admittedly, all of you have minds that are a little labyrinthine at this point, even to yourselves. But nothing has changed since you picked up the obsidian.
So not only are there no like human tracks leading away from the area, there's no equipment, there's no spears, there's no
They mu-
And a couple broken like flint spear tips in the scuffle area. That's it.
Probably these new fresh tracks I'm seeing here. Probably they came back to clean up the evidence from this battle. Probably
regular canines wouldn't, eat their spears.
actually horrifying.
I mean, if they could eat objects, I doubt it.
So it seems like we should probably follow those. I agree with Arku that following those north while we're here probably makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
all right, so
I'm-
you've
I'm-
gathered another obsidian. You've gathered some corrupted tree roots that are turning vicious by the looks of it. It's now mid-afternoon. You follow the canine tracks northwest. You're kind of almost still heading towards the mountains and rockier area. It's about 3 hours later, as the sun starts to drop, that you all realize that you are hearing and seeing unusual amounts of movement around you. You've seen wildlife throughout this forest. This is different. You see flashes of movement that's there and then gone out of the corner of your eye. And you see footprints, the prints you're following, occasionally disappear and then reappear. Looks like a pack of 4 to 6 canines, but after a bit they start popping around where one track will disappear and then start back up 10 feet forward or 10 feet
Oh.
left. And
Oh.
before long, just as it starts to get dark, you begin to hear howls and panting around you. And stepping out in front of you is a large, tawny-colored dog. And you see flickers and flashes around the sides and behind you. And I'd like everyone to make a history check, please, because we're going to see what's in your brains at the moment.
I will guide. I will guide our coup if they haven't already rolled.
We got some good rolls there. I think several of you here, yeah. Lucius and Rock, Abby, Zephia. It immediately comes to mind, Arku. Not so much Keenan, maybe because Keenan's not tied into the nature aspect as much. These are fey creatures. These are blink dolls. The assault humanoids. And you see this one that's making eye contact ahead of you, just staring you down. Its mouth is foaming and its eyes are glowing red. And that's
Wow.
where we're going to stop for the week. Next week.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. And any
Yeah.
questions or anything anyone wants to throw out before we call it a night?
I guess I have a question. You probably covered it in session 0, but magical components, are we... I mean, I have to have, like, for, like, the spell message, I have to have a piece of copper wire, but that has not been developed yet.
So I am using to some degree the what you would call arcane focus rules. So anything without a value, an arcane focus can substitute for. And for an artificer, your tools are your arcane focus.
Okay.
So you're good on that. And yeah, but also I would also, be happy to reskin a piece of copper wire as a leaf you whisper into, that's like a piece of grass or a leaf that kind of whistles your message across in a more naturey way as well.
Or your pet rock.
Or your
Your googly eye pet rock.
My desecrated obsidian
Spooky but really useful. I just
So-
shave off parts of obsidian and just goes with the wind.
There you go. Awesome. So yeah, next week we will pick up with, unfortunately for dog lovers, probably some combat, as these blink dogs do not look well.
No. I
Oh,
love dogs.
Investigate this. Blink dogs are awesome. I didn't. This, you know, I think it's appropriate for the story, but I gotta admit, I didn't love it.
yeah.
Never heard of a blink dog before.
Interesting. So yeah, anything again? If anyone wants their tokens updated, let me know. And yeah, other than that, I will talk to you on Discord and see everyone next week.
All right
Awesome.
then. See you guys
Yeah.
soon.
See you.
Alright.
Good session, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Toodaloo.